NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. I've been away for a couple of days, ladies and gentlemen, but, that's okay. I had to take care of some family business and some of those type of things, but we're back, and we're going to get into this off season. But before we do that, we really got to finish out the season by giving the New York Knicks some season grades. So we're going to talk about the front office. We're going to talk about the coaching staff. We're going to break down about 12 players, not all of them, about 12 of them, though. But it's not going to be a super duper long show. Normally, we would do this and be like 2-3 hours. We're going to condense it, give our takes real quick, and keep it moving. We'll get your takes from the YouTube chat and keep the thing rocking, man. We got a panel here. We got Tony Crow in the building. G-Man for life. Nate's in the building. And, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get this thing on and popping, break it down as we talk about the New York Knicks and just look back and really grade this season. So let's go ahead and let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get with it. Let's get to the group here. Tony, what's poppin' with you, my brother? How you feeling?
Good, I'm good. Shout out to the chat. What's good, Sim? Yo, Black, it's time. You ready?
No doubt. I'm feeling good,
I'm ready
man.
to get into this.
Welcome I'm feeling
back.
Good. No doubt. Appreciate it. Had to, just take a little minute and breathe. A lot of stuff going on. Take a little minute and breathe. G-Man, what's poppin' with you, bro? How you feeling?
Hey, it's always a pleasure. Any day above ground is a good day. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying to all my brethren, I salute to the panel, salute to the chat. I'm grateful for the season that the Knicks had this year. They gave me something to root for, something to wake up in the morning and look forward to, especially when we were going to play a game. You know what I'm saying? So, I thank you for doing this type of show, because a lot of times we move from one aspect of the game to the next without giving flowers to those guys that, gave their blood, sweat, and tears to get that particular season that we envisioned. So
exactly.
Salute for putting this together.
I appreciate you, man. And Nate.
Hey, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Yeah, man, I had to step away after the Knicks lost the last game, man, just to kind of clear my mind and get ready for the off season. I really didn't have any thoughts after the last game was over. So I'm clear-minded now. I'm gonna let you know that my grades are gonna be very rough. I'm gonna be very honest on my grades.
Do what you do.
I'm not gonna give anybody A's or B's. There's gonna be a lot of C's and D's probably.
Hey, do what you do. There's no judge here.
They're not gonna be judging. Fun. I'm gonna get a lot of controversy. I guarantee you. So let's go.
Okay. Hey. I'm not judging you, man. I'm not judging you. We're gonna do it the way that we do it. As a matter of fact, to keep things under control and to keep the math easy for me, I'm gonna lock the room. And we're just gonna rock with this group right here. That way we don't have 2 million people trying to give, this kind of grade and that kind of grade. You know what I'm saying? We're going to lock the room.
4-hour show last time.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Right? That way we don't have a 4-hour show. Right? And we can be to the point and knock it out. Anybody else can leave it in the comment section or join us in the YouTube chat and give their opinions there. All right, so let's start off with the front office. Okay? And I'd like to start by saying I think we do have to give kudos to the front office for hiring Tom Thibodeau. And I know there's a lot of talk about, Tom Thibodeau didn't get this done or that done or whatever it is. But the front office hired Tom Thibodeau. And for that first year, Tom Thibodeau came in and did his job. He did exactly what was needed to be done. He established something.
Coach of the Year Tibbs. Make sure you
Coach of the Year Tibbs. Coach of the Year Tibbs. He established something. right? A culture, standards, right? And that's a big thing, standards. You know, you can't come in and say, well, we'll let the groups set the expectations. No, I think the coach needs to have certain level of expectations and make the players live up to those expectations. And I think that's what he did. And then accountability. So I'm going to start with you, Tony. What's your grade for Tom Thibodeau? Just, give me a quick explanation. Give me a grade. I'm sorry, not Tom Thibodeau, the front office. The front office.
Front office, I'm going to give them a straight A. No minus, no plus. Straight A. I mean, what can I say? I've loved what they've done prior to Tibbs. Well, not prior to Tibbs. That was like the first move. But yeah, the Tibbs hire, it was gutsy, but they had a relationship. They knew what they had a plan. They knew what they wanted, and they went for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got nothing negative to say about the front office, man. They did a great hire, but not just Tibbs. I mean, great hires all around in that front office. Capologists, player development, like anything you thought we were lacking in years past, they filled those holes right up, plugged those gaps right up, and I think it showed this year. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely an A.
All right. So that's an A from Tony. G-Man, what's your grade for him?
So I have to agree with Tony, right? I give him an A, and for a couple of different reasons. I think that we've been so bad for so long with to quote my man Ron Cleveland, front office malpractice, right? There's been a lot of things that our previous front office has done that has handcuffed the team from being able to move forward and do anything positive to affect the on-court performance of what we're looking at, right? But I think that at some point this year, someone sat down and said, okay, this is what I want to see. And they stuck to the business model. And I applaud the front office for being able to do it, because it's very easy to succumb to your investors or those board members that are sitting there saying, you will hire this person. You will hire my nephew that just graduated from college because I need him to have a job, or whatever the case may be, right? They succumb all that, and they were truly invested in this team moving forward. And I applaud them for that. And for that, I give them an A.
Okay. All right. And Nate?
Solid B, my man.
You said a solid B.
I think there's a lot of potential there, but I think I need to see more with these moves. I look at impact as far as who they brought on the team. Obviously, Derrick Rose was big. Taj Gibson, bringing him on the roster. I'm still not sure about the rookies. Still need to see a little bit more from the rookies, but I thought that the draft picks might be solid. We'll see. Year 2 is going to be huge for them. But it was good to see some impact on them in some games. I just think, an A would have been nice, but I mean, we got out of the first round. I mean, we didn't make past the first round. If we would have made it past the first round, maybe the second round, I would say an A probably would be more along the lines. I think a solid B. I think they haven't done anything really to screw the team up, but I don't think they've done anything to really excel the team going forward. I think that this offseason is going to really tell me a lot about this front office going forward and the years to come, because there's a lot of big decisions that need to be made this year that is going to impact this team going forward in the next 4 or 5 years.
And see, that's where I kind of, you gave him a decent grade, a B, but I disagree with you, because this is the first year the regime is together. So I think for what they needed to do, as far as getting good coaches in place, getting your, like Tony said, a capologist and scouts and those type of people in place, I think that's what propels you forward. Now, of course, we haven't seen what they're able to do when it comes to big free agents or making large trades. But I think the people that they put in place so far, what we've seen are intelligent personnel that use strategies and have 3, 4, 5, 6 plans in place. And if what comes up doesn't meet one of those plans, it's like, well, we're not rocking with it then. And I think you really have to applaud a group that operates in that manner. And not only that, they've been freakishly quiet, where we don't know exactly what's happening, and everyone is guessing. And there's rumors, and there's assumptions, and there's all of these things out there. And then all of a sudden, something happens, and we hear something that's legitimate, that they're interested in this guy, and it's really, truly legitimate. And then it happens, and it shocks you, like, oh, snap. So I give them an A. I think they definitely deserve an A for what they've done this year. And it's not just about the players, but about, the coaching staff that they put in place. And of course, this goes back to, Leon Rose was hired last year, but, through the pandemic and you heard of different coaches being hired and stuff like that. So I give this coaching staff, not the coaches, this front office an A, even down to them not adding more firepower at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's more of maybe like maybe like the moves they made with the players. I really didn't think about the coaching, but yeah, they did put a solid staff together. So
I mean, clearly they put a solid team together. I mean, to go from a team that didn't even make the bubble to the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they flamed out in the playoffs, right? And okay, they flamed out in the playoffs. I get it. But to go from not even making the bubble to the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference with largely the same team, and they added little pieces here and there, but then you had a coaching staff that really came together to come up with good game plans to help players develop. I think you got to get, to me, I think you got to get a front office an A. Tony?
I actually want to make an amendment and give them an A+. A couple of things I wanted to mention. The only slip up from the organization, like last year going into the coaching search, came from a non-front office guy in Steve Stout. Letting the cat out the bag that a coaching change was definitely being made before they, while the season was still going and such. So
never heard from him again after that.
And you have not.
You have not at all.
I forgot to take into account the addition of draft picks accumulated and the maneuvering of draft picks last year's draft, which was something that we've never seen from our organization. So kudos to the front office and the hires that they made doing that. And then the position that we're in, Nate, you said going forward, we've never been in this type of position with cap space, with
that is true.
With this type of flexibility. And they were preaching that from last year.
Yeah.
The three ways to get better moving forward. And right now we're in that. We have all 3 of those positions open and available for us. So
yeah, I agree.
I'm upgraded to A+.
Yeah, the cap space, the draft picks are definitely big pluses. For me, like I said, I'm looking at more from the roster. I guess for me, we have a lot of question marks, and I don't think that we addressed as much.
We're great in the roster as well. So right, I like the moves they made.
Yeah,
and especially with the people criticize the moves last year with 16 power forwards or whatever the case they were saying, and it was a great amendment.
Yeah, and I just think you got to take into account that this is the first year, And what was their objective coming into the year? I don't think their objective coming into the year was to be a super great team. I think their objective was to lay the groundwork to have a super great team in the future.
But was it not surprising just a little bit? And this is kind of where I really was bothered by the front office, is that when you have a good team, you think you're pretty much in your mind going to make the playoffs. I mean, they were on pace to make it, and you don't make a lot of moves that really hurt us in the playoffs, like adding more shooters to this team before going into the playoffs, and then just getting shellanked by the Hawks, because you saw the plethora of weapons they had. And honestly, we were relying on guys that were very hit or miss in shooting. I really did not like that. I really wish the Knicks would have been more aggressive in that trade deadline, because there were a lot of players that went to teams where I think we could have struck deals with some of those players. And who knows, they could have helped us in the playoffs.
And listen, Nate,
2020, and you always speak on chemistry, Slim. So.
And listen, I too was, I said, we should add somebody.
Yeah.
Right. But I applaud them for sticking to their guns and saying, you know what? There's nothing we can do in this trade deadline that's going to make us a championship contender. Let's just see what this team does. That way we understand what we need to do moving forward. And that was probably the best move.
And real quick, I think
best move.
I think Atlanta was really just a bad matchup for us. I really believe had we played any other team in the playoffs in the East, we would have had a better show.
Well, look how they're playing the Sixers, man. They're a talented team. I told people they're talented, they're deep, they got good shooting. They're a good, complete team, bro. They're going to be a team to be reckoned with for the next 3 or 4 years, man. Just get ready.
I'm referring to us and the matchup personally. I feel like us against any other team, we would have had a better showing. I'm not saying we would have beat whomever, but it would have been a better performance from our guys. They were the worst matchup for us, I believe.
So we had no answer for Trae Young.
To your point, Anthony, I agree with everything you just said, but I think that we have to look at blessings in disguises, right? And I look at this in this way: I would much rather for us to be exposed now at this particular aspect of where we are, knowing what we need to build upon, than having a false narrative moving forward. And then I'm investing a whole bunch of money in a guy that I think is going to be able to give me X, Y, and Z. And the stars were aligned, the moons, the quasars, and all that was up in space and doing this thing, right? And that guy had a good game for a series, but that's not who he really is. I'm glad that what happened to us has happened. So now we know what it is. We know what the foundation is. So we're not going to build, a 2-story platform on top of this foundation. The foundation is weak. I know what my foundation is. I know if I need to bring some people in, put some rebar in, and reinforce that concrete on that foundation, that's what I need to do first.
Yeah.
And then, what I'm saying?
So, yeah, no doubt. So for the front office, ladies and gentlemen, we gave the front office an A. An A for this season. Now, obviously, this is this season. We got a whole, however long this front office is going to be together. And, that's obviously questionable because Scott Perry might deserve to run his own team. And he could end up not being with the organization. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. But let's talk about the coaching staff.
Ooh.
All right, the coaching staff. Let's talk about the coaching staff. Obviously, Tom Thibodeau just won Coach of the Year, which I think he deserved it. I don't think everybody expected him to win it, but I think he deserved it. You take a team from couldn't even make the bubble to being the 4th seed. Come on. Right?
This guy said he was going to do it if he made the playoffs. Thank you very much.
But Tom Thibodeau did a very good job. Regardless of what happened in the playoffs, Tom Thibodeau did a very good job with this team. We were talking about it earlier as we were looking at the front office and, their big hire in Tom Thibodeau is part of the reason why, to me, they get such a high grade. Tom Thibodeau did exactly what he needed to do. And like I said earlier, holding the team to expectations, setting standards for them, accountability, helping to develop that culture, helping to establish an identity with this team. I think he did everything that he needed to do with this team. And, people can argue and complain about adjustments that he did or did not make in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I think one could also argue that he maximized the ability of this team.
Oh, hell yeah.
He inched out, he squeezed out every drop of blood.
Yeah.
Tony?
Yes, sir. Another A. Man, he came in. I mean, him personally, we doing the full staff, right? We're not breaking down individual coaching jobs.
We can mention people here and there, but because we don't really know what the other guys did or did not do,
Yeah. So, I mean, A plus, man. A plus, man. Solid job. Like you said, I think he got every inch of potential out of our players, currently. Not saying that they all got room to grow, you know what I mean? And a lot of it comes down to the individual players, what they were willing to do. But, we have very few defensive lapses. Our defensive issues that occurred were fixed within a game or two. For the most part, the backdoor cutting, we would see that every now and again, but it wasn't a consistent problem. He got the players to buy in. I got nothing negative to say, man. I think he's learned from his past experiences. He's continuing to learn. I think he stepped out of his own comfort zone from his normal, likings and things that he usually does. He stepped out of that comfort zone. I give him an A, man, and I think he's gonna continue to grow.
Yeah, no doubt. G-Man?
I agree with Tony. I'm gonna give him an A. I won't give him an A plus, but I would definitely give him an A. So a lot of times when we come into different circumstances and situations, we have to be able to gravitate towards what's there and figure out how to make the best out of the ingredients that you have in your house, right? So if you want to make a meal and you can't go to the store and you're forced to make a meal based on what the ingredients in your kitchen, you make the best meal that you can. And I look at Tom Thibodeau in that aspect, right? I said that when we start first talking about that Tibbs was a candidate for Coach of the Year, based on how the NBA normally does business, that award is generally garnered for those people that have winning records at the end of the year. That's the political side of it, right? I'm happy beyond all measures that Tom Thibodeau won this award, because that tells me that someone, someplace, actually recognized that the contributions of what he brought to this team. And this is, for any of those X-Men fans out there, this is the saga of the Phoenix right here, rising from the ashes. This is step one right here. Tom Thibodeau winning Coach of the Year, coming in and establishing, and people sell this short so many times, establishing a culture. You have to have a culture to be able to build a successful organization, and you have to have buy-in for that culture. Mm-hmm. And that head coach came in. He did what he was supposed to do. He took anybody that thought they had an ego, he established right up front, your ego is not bigger than my position. Point blank, period. So what I'm telling you is this, and this is what it's going to be. And I think that's why he's successful. And that coaching staff definitely gets an A for me.
Yeah. And I want to add, just real quick before I get to Nate, when we're talking about the coaching staff, when I look at the things that Kenny Payne was doing with the players before games, and I know all teams have this going on. But, his ability, especially with Julius Randle, to work on, he knows Julius Randle's strengths and weaknesses. And to be able to have a guy like that really, was working with Julius Randle from basically a kid, right, until now, to help him continue to develop and work on those weaknesses, and you've seen him putting in the work with him, and then you've seen him doing, footwork with Obi Toppin, to help him develop his footwork coming into the league, because he had awful footwork coming into the league. Of course, Mike Woodson being that uncle, having that uncle type of figure. Obviously, the front office gets kudos for bringing these guys and putting them in. Tom Thibodeau for allowing whatever coaches, either hiring coaches or allowing other coaches to come in, gets kudos as well. But those guys did their job to the T, and spoke. For all intents and purposes, everything that we know of is that they spoke the same language as Tom Thibodeau throughout the season and spread that message to the players. For the Knicks to have the success that they had, that's the only way it can happen, in my opinion. Because if you got one coach saying, well, I know Tom is saying to do this, but I think it should be this way, that starts to split the team. But when you have everybody speaking the same language, spreading the same messages, you get the results that you got this season, in my opinion. Not always, but it'll grow to those results. We hit those results a lot faster. So this coaching staff was definitely strong. Definitely strong. That's why I give them an A. So I might as well get that out the way since I went ahead and started speaking. But go ahead, Nate.
Oh, man. Y'all are making it hard on me. I'm going to give it a B+. And
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Because I look at the coaching overall as a whole. Did he change the culture? Did he create the identity? Yes. We're a defensive team. We will be a defensive team. And, we're hard-nosed. We're grinding kind of team. Defensively, top 5 categories in almost every category for defense. So definitely got that checked off. Offensively, too many lapses in offense. A lot of times I did not see a lot of scheme or a lot of big offensive ideas from him. I think that in the offseason, he needs to really think about getting an offensive-minded coach on the staff, because the defense is set. The defense is good. We'll be fine defensively, but I don't know how offensively creative he is. And it might not be a bad idea to bring somebody on staff that knows more offense. To maybe he could go back and forth with that coach. Just an idea. Kind of like when you're bad at defense and you bring a defensive-minded coach in. I don't think it would be a bad idea for him to, bring in somebody offensive-minded a little bit more.
So Nate, how do you know that coach does not already exist on the staff, but he's just not given that input, the credence that it deserves, to where it impacts the team, and you can see it on.
I mean, is it on the staff?
Is it not? That I answer your question with a question.
I don't think it is, in my opinion. I don't think there's an X's and O's guys as far as offense.
How do you come to the realization that it's not?
Because I feel like a lot of the coaches they have are developmental coaches. Like they develop players. I think that Tibbs brought a lot of coaches that are good development players. Like when he brought Kenny Payne in, he brought him in to develop Randle more and Knox. Obviously that didn't happen, but he brought him in to help bring those players up more. I don't know about the whole other staff. You could be right, but I'm just saying it might not be a bad idea to consider if there's an assistant coach out there that's more offensive minded. Maybe if Tibbs would allow it, I don't know. Some of these coaches have very big egos, so they might not want to do that. He might think he could do it himself. I don't know. But that's why I'm giving him a B+, because I didn't see enough from the offense. I thought we really struggled in the offense a lot.
The only thing I'll say to that is, I feel like some people are expecting a Honda Accord to be able to tow, a 2-ton building, right? It's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So you really do have to look at the personnel that he had. And I think with the personnel he had, he squeezed out everything that he could and put together an offense that, while it didn't have a lot of variation, right? Didn't have a lot of variation to it.
Sure.
Maybe with the players that he had, this was all he could do. And by keeping it simple, he was able to maximize their abilities. And as he adds more players, maybe you start to see, as they add more talent, maybe you start to see a variation in the offense. I just don't know. It's hard to say.
Right.
Plus, they had a short training camp.
And you're absolutely right, Sim. But unfortunately, in this world, the coach gets blamed for no matter what. If the defense is bad, the coach is going to get blamed even if it doesn't have defensive players. If the team's bad offensively, they don't have offensive players, the coach is going to get blamed. It's just the way it is. And that's why I gave him a B+. I need to see more on the offensive side. I think that really hurt us in the playoffs because there were times where the Hawks just killed us on runs, and we just could not answer back.
Okay.
And you're right. It probably was the personnel. There's no doubt about it.
We're assessing the entire season, right? This is
the season. I know. I know, but the playoffs are a big part of it too. The playoffs are where you shine. You get exposed or you shine.
Right, but I just think we just weren't that team yet. We still have a ways to go, a lot of building to do.
Sure.
And I know people will say, well, Atlanta had the same record as us, but you know what? They've been building for a couple of years around Trae Young. They've been figuring out how do we build around Trae Young. You know what I'm saying? And they've been working.
They put shooters around him.
Right. And they figured out, okay, what do we got to do to make it work around Trae Young, and how do we go get those type of players? They've had a couple of years with him, and I know we've had 2 years with Julius Randle. But last year, was a throwaway. Last season was basically a throwaway season, when it comes, for Julius Randle and building any kind of structure or offense with this team. This year was the first year where you said, okay, we can see something that they're trying to do. Now, how do we add more pieces to make it work the way we want it to work, and to add more variation, and to be able to, like the Atlanta Hawks, since we talk about the playoffs a lot, the Atlanta Hawks, there were times when they could take Trae Young and just have him stand over on the wing and let Bogdanovich and Herter and DeAndre Hunter and John Collins run a two-man game on the opposite side of the floor. And they still get an alley-oop dunk out of it. I seen it against Philly the other day when they put Ben Simmons on Trae Young. They say, okay, we're going to go to the opposite side of the floor. We'll make something happen over there. It takes time to develop that.
So Sam, I would say this, right? And far be it for me to ever, and I don't believe what I'm about to say, but far be it for me to ever give my man Cornerstone any type of credit, right? Oh my God. I don't believe what I'm about to say, but I'm about to say, right? But we've had conversations, and some of those conversations revolve around this point right here. When we're talking about the head coach and the coaching staff. The coaching staff is not out on the court shooting threes. The coaching staff is not on the court trying to get rebounds or blocking shots. That's not what they do. Their job is to give those players that's on their roster the best opportunity to go out and be successful, right? So we cannot hold a coach or his staff responsible for somebody having a bad shooting day.
That's why coaches get fired all the time.
Threes.
Unfair it is. Nate, I agree with you there. That is unfair. But however, you cannot equate the crazy part about this is this, right? We take the kudos and the great things that happen with this team all season, and we divvy up all those accolades, right? We will figure out a way to thread that needle to say that because upper management said that I'm going to hire this guy, that's why RJ Barrett had a game that he scored 80 points in a season or in a series or whatever the case may be. We figured that narrative out. The same thing happens when things fail. There's got to be a fall guy. And whoever that fall guy is would be the weak link in the chain. That means that if I'm going to be the fall guy, that means that there was a meeting held at pre-show, and there was an agreement to say these are the topics we're going to discuss, and I went off the rails. So guess what? You won't see me again. That's the fall guy right there. You know what I'm saying? That's how things work. So I really don't want us to get things misconstrued as to where bad performance on the court does not equate to bad coaching. They just had a bad day.
That's true.
You know
that's true.
Exactly
And that's a perfect segue. This is a perfect segue to transition into the players. But before we get to that, let me read a couple of super chats. Chris, thank you for the super chat. She said Dame would be great. Would be a great look, but would you do a deal like we did for Melo to get Damian Lillard? Chris, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in another show because that's going to be a whole long discussion. It's going to be a whole long discussion. We're going to talk about that. And Afro Jedi, he said, how is it not the coaching staff? You got the same ragtag bunch that everyone was toasting us on offense, became the top 5 defense, and increased the 3-point shooting. Come on, Nate. Nate said he was going to come in with some controversial takes. Not that he was trying to.
I already told y'all, man.
You know,
I really thought about it, man. I'm just saying.
Okay, nah. Say what you say. What you say. You can say what you say. Don't.
Because honestly, I value since we made the playoffs. If we had made the playoffs, I'd be like, okay, I look at the body of work in the season. But since we made the playoffs, that's your time to shine, or that's your time to get exposed. And I was just a little concerned with some things I saw in the playoffs, and I'll mention some other people later.
Right, so, but that's the reason. But that's the reason why we go into the offseason and strengthen the team. But for what we did and what we were expected to do and what we did. But anyway, the coaching staff, from most of us gave him an A+ or an A. Nate gave him a B+. You said, or B?
B+.
B+. So that that's basically an A.
It's close to an A. I mean, come on.
The front office and the coaching staff, ladies and gentlemen, we give the front office and coaching staff an A for the season. So that's what we got so far. And of course, we're going to add all this up at the end and give what we got to give for an overall team grade. But let's start talking about the players. And since we were talking about players not performing on the floor and fall guys and all kinds of stuff like that.
I wonder who we're starting with.
Right. Then we might as well, let's get it. We might as well get it out the way. Right. Lord. We're just going to get it out the way. Let's talk about Elfrid Payton.
Oh, Wall Street.
Get it out the way. Right. We're going to talk about Elfrid Payton. Because, and thank goodness, whatever you feel about the guy, thank goodness he's not going to be here next year.
He's not.
Yeah.
Right? He's not going to be here next year. No matter what you feel, the relationship has burnt out. It's burnt out. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's get into this conversation here about Elfrid Payton and the grade that you give Elfrid Payton. And look, I don't even need to look at the chat. All right, you already know what that's going to be.
Yeah.
Not effort fantastic, that's for sure.
All right, you already know what that's going to be. And right now, you see there's no grades on the side. We'll add those grades as we go down. But we got a lot of players. So, let's try to make these quick.
Right.
Real quick. All right, so I'll start with you, Tony. Elfrid Payton.
Probably the highest grade on the chat, C+. It's still passing grade. I said it early in the year. Me, you, a couple others have been accused of being Payton enthusiasts or whatever they want to call it, which never was the case. But he definitely won us at least 2 games this year, and I applaud his effort, man. Everybody has shortcomings. The guy's in the league for a reason.
Right.
It just didn't work out. It got worse as the season progressed. I think part of that was his own confidence more than his lack of skill.
Mm-hmm.
I think it finally started, taking a toll on him. But overall, I'm gonna give him a C+, man.
It definitely started taking a toll on him, man. Without a doubt. G-Man?
I'm gonna give him a D. I don't want to murder him because I think that early on, he to Tony's point, he had a different outlook on what his season could potentially be, and it didn't come to fruition. But I give him a D. You know what? Now that I'm speaking out loud and I'm hearing what I'm saying, I'm gonna give him a C-, right? Because I look at it like this, right? And I've been in situations to where there's a certain aspect of or expectation of what people think you're gonna do, and then what you're really able to do, and then that affects your psyche, and then what you're really physically able to produce, right? But one thing I can say about Elfrid Payton, regardless of how we view body language and on-court performance, whatever the case may be, he showed up every night. He did. I got to give him credit.
How did he show up?
Well, he was on the court.
Oh,
now,
he wasn't hurt. He wasn't hurt. What you're saying?
You're right. So he could have easily came in. He could have easily came in the game and said, my quad hurts. You know, my hamstring hurts, or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to be there for my teammates. He could have easily said that, and no one would have batted an eyelash and moved on down the line. But I think for all the things that happen with this team, this is one thing we cannot kind of gloss over, right? The Elfrid Payton effect on this team has something to do with the way the rest of the team gel. I don't care how you boil that down or how you look at it, but when you have a certain entity on your team, that the point guard of all positions, right? The point guard. If your point guard's not doing what he needs to do, and then we have to make concessions to get that ability handled and continue to have people be able to fluctuate in that aspect, then that's a team building exercise right there. We practice that in the military all the time. All the time. I mean, take your commander out of the equation and see what happens to the team. Who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be the de facto leader to step up and get this team to where we need to go to accomplish the objective? We do that all the time. And that's what I saw with this team this year. I would think for me, C+.
Okay. You said D+.
C+.
He said C-. He said C-.
C+.
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 Okay.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer. C+.
Okay. Nate?
C+. We saw two Paytons. Payton before Rose and Payton after Rose. And you could tell, and I told the chat this the whole time, it was going to affect the way he played when Derrick Rose came onto this team. And sure enough, Payton's confidence, as soon as Derrick Rose was signed on, his confidence dwindled. You could just tell because Derrick Rose was shining. He was gelling. The team looked good. People are talking about Derrick Rose and all this. Nobody talked about Payton. And I could tell you, man, when nobody talks about you or nobody in a positive way, and it's just all negative, it affects you because you read stuff, you see stuff and all that. And I think it just got to him. And then when your coach don't believe in you and pulls you easy, that's when your confidence even goes worse. So we saw two Paytons, and that's why I give him a C+.
Okay. I'm actually, and I think this is probably going to surprise a lot of people, I'm actually around a D+.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You were the biggest supporter of Payton early on.
Well, I supported what he was doing, especially early on. Later in the season, he just faded and he wasn't there at all. Right? And, my support for Payton wasn't really always about his performance. It was about people blaming every loss on him. To me, was just ridiculous. And so that's why I was like, yo, y'all got to chill with all of this because it's just dumb. Every loss is not on one player. No losses are ever on just one player. Right? And, listen, Payton had a stretch where he played really well. During the middle of the season, he had a stretch where he was playing really well, a good 10 to 15 game stretch. And he was stringing together a decent season, I thought. People complained about whatever they complained about. But the last 20 games, he was just gone. And listen, I don't know if it was, with Derrick Rose being there. I don't know if it was because his minutes continued to dwindle. But he was just gone. And he didn't exist. And he became the only reason that Elfrid Payton was on the floor was to save time for Derrick Rose.
For like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, it was to save time, was to hold fort until Derrick Rose got there, where earlier in the season, his penetration was really critical. There were times when Julius Randle couldn't score the basketball, and Elfrid Payton would give us 6, 8 points in a row. You know, people neglected to see that, didn't want to see it, but it happened, like it or not. When we got down towards the end of the season, he wasn't there. You know what I mean? And he was a little bit, you know, he just wasn't there. He kind of zoned out for whatever the reasons are.
Went south.
You know, I do think in the playoffs, like it or not, you know, people are going to say, oh, you just whatever with Elfrid Payton. I think taking him out of the starting lineup hurt us in the playoffs. I'm sorry, people. I really do. And people will say that I'm crazy, but it didn't have to do with Elfrid Payton playing. It had to do with the role of the basketball team. And like G-Man said, something about whatever he brought helped the chemistry of this team. And I felt taking him totally out of the lineup affected the team in the way that we played basketball. We lost the first game. We should have won the first game of that Atlanta series, but we lost it by 2. We won the second game by 2. We got blown out every other game after that. We got blown out every other game after that. And the only change, I'm sorry, like it or not, the only change was Elfrid Payton coming totally out of the lineup. So whatever it was that made it work, it worked. People didn't see it as working because they said we get down or, you know, the games are too tight or he's not providing this or that. People didn't see it as working, but it worked. We got blown out. We lost by double digits the last 3 games of this series.
Also put a lot of pressure on Rose.
Shams, I got one quick point, right? So the thing that you just said just sparked a nerve with me, right? So people are quick to crucify Elfrid Payton, and I'm not an Elfrid Payton defender. Let's go ahead and establish that right now. But right is right, wrong is wrong. So the same, I guess, influence and praises that we heap on a Theo Pinson for being that guy on the bench that gives you the rah-rah, keeps the team uplifted, keeps the spirits high so when you go in a game, you know, that's the unofficial, I won't call him a hype man because that's minimizing what he actually does for the team, right? I would say that
blue guy.
He knows his teammates and he knows what motivates his teammates, and that's what he does, right? So to your point, we don't know that having Elfrid Payton in the game is not a motivating factor for everyone else that comes behind him. We don't know that. We don't
know that.
So I know we as basketball fans want our guys on the court to be productive or whatever the case may be. I get it. But what you cannot do, because you are not in the locker room, you are not in the pregame speeches, you are not in the scheme meetings to where the coach says, when you go on the court, this is what I want you to do. We're not there. The only thing we're watching is the finished product. That's it.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah.
And I just think, go ahead, Nate.
Oh, just to add one thing, like when Sim was talking about how, you know, taking him out of the rotation completely, everybody's role changed.
It did.
You know, and we had to compensate. Everybody had to do something more than probably what they were used to doing. Yes. Derrick Rose had to be a starter, play more minutes. Quickly had to, you know, play a point guard position. Burks had to play a point guard position. You know, everybody's playing out of sorts, and that can mess up your chemistry completely. Absolutely. And I think that's really what happened with the in the playoffs. If Tibbs wanted to make this thing, he should have made it game 1. He shouldn't have made it.
He should have did it before the playoffs even started, so that the team had a chance to adjust to you know, their roles and all of their changes. But anyway, I gave Elfrid Payton a D+ for the season. I just don't like the way he faded out at the end of the season. You know, he just gave you nothing at all besides buying time for
just the body
for Derrick Rose. You know, he ended up with the season 10 points per game, 3.4 rebounds, 3.2 assists per game. He shot this season, obviously from the 3-point line, he was terrible as he's always been from the 3-point line, but I think he ended up shooting about 44% from the field or something like that. I'm trying to find it now. I don't know why this is, giving me fits, but needless to say, oh, here we go. For the season, Elfrid Payton shot 43%. He shot 28.6% from the field. I give him a D+. From everyone on the panel, it looks like, it sounds like it's about a C-.
Yeah.
With everyone on the panel. So we give Elfrid Payton got a C-. C- for Elfrid Payton this year. Let's talk about R.J. Barrett.
Ooh. Whoa.
All right, RJ, and it looks like I'm gonna have to do this in 2 parts, ladies and gentlemen. All right, because we got about 12 players. We got the starters right here that we're talking about, or at least the end of the season starters. We're gonna do the bench, and then we'll do about 2 other players. That
that's
got
for the grade. We don't need to explain. That's for the grade.
Well, people want to hear the explanation.
Yeah, I get you.
People want to hear the explanation. So RJ Barrett. Tony, what's your grade for RJ Barrett?
B+. B+. I don't know. His numbers didn't skyrocket, but at least from the eye test, I would think his percentage went up. His efficiency went up. I just love the way this guy always came back after a bad performance and and fixed his mistakes. I like the way this guy started the season horrible shooting threes and ended the season above 40% or about 40%. Regardless of what anybody else says, he may not be the quintessential superstar, but I think this guy's going to have a longer career than some of the superstars. I think he's going to have a longer trajectory and be solid that whole time. So
okay.
I like RJ.
So what you gave him, a B+?
B+.
B+. All right, G-Man?
I'm laughing at the chat. Boy, I'm telling you, these people in the chat are off the chain today. Oh, my God.
Listen,
so what I'm about to say right now is about to set them on fire. I'm telling you right now, I'm about to set the world on fire. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give RJ Barrett a B. Only a B. And this is why. We have always said, well, when I say we, that the Knicks verse has always considered RJ Barrett to be a Robin to Julius Randle's Batman, right? So in my mind, what that means is if Sims is Batman and I'm his Robin, that means I've sat down and analyzed anything that I can do to accentuate or make whatever his shortcomings are non-existent. My job is to make those shortcomings non-existent and move on to something else so he can go do something else, right? RJ Barrett has not been able to do that this season. Did he grow from previous seasons? Yes, I will give you that. I'll give you that. But, and here we go, Knicks fans, with this mediocrity, right? So it's okay for one person to have these accolades, but not someone else. Y'all kill me with this. You kill me with this, right? So if we're going to judge a person based on, what they do, then let's do that. Don't make concessions to when something doesn't go your way. When they have a bad night, I'm not feeling that. So let's be real for 1 second. RJ Barrett, to me right now, is a B. B. Bravo. For those of you that have been in the Army, bravo. That's that phonetic alphabet. Bravo. That's RJ Barrett for me right now. So I'm open to all the smoke, and I'm willing to accept. But when you come correct, right? I don't have feelings for these players. I love my Knicks. I love the players that are on the roster. But when you excel, I'm gonna tell you that you excel. When you don't, then guess what? You're gonna have to get the smoke, baby. And if you don't have a strong foundational aspect in your character, you probably don't want to come over here. I'm just saying, Sam. B.
Okay. And before I even get to RJ, let me talk to some of the numbnuts in the chat. All right. You
I like
know,
how you said that.
I mean,
Nuts.
you had someone in the chat say he gave Elfrid Payton a B. I gave Elfrid Payton a D+, the lowest on the panel. That's how crazy some of these people are.
Oh my goodness.
That's how crazy, and he knows who I'm
listen.
talking about. I gave the man a D+, and he said he gives him a B.
That's it.
Anyway, numbnuts, man, numbnuts. Anyway, go ahead, Nate.
Oh man, solid B, and I'll tell you why. He improved his shooting percentages from 3-pointer. He improved his free throw percentage. I think he improved his overall field goal percentage. So the shooting's getting better. Right. For me, he disappears way too many times in games. And I'll be honest with you, Sim. I don't know what the hell RJ Barrett is. I've seen him for 2 years, and I still do not know what kind of player he's going to be. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe this year 3 is going to be his coming out party. But I still do not know what this dude is. All I know is this guy is gritty. He's tough-minded, and he obviously wants to get better because his numbers his shooting percentage just got better. But he still disappears too many times in games. I need him to be more aggressive. I need him to get a mid-range jumper. I need him to get him a post game. I need him to be more smarter when he goes to the rim. Better defender, but he's only 20 years old. So, hey, can knock him. B, I think a B is a good number for him.
Yeah, and I'm giving him a B as well. For all of the same reasons that I think you guys just explained. And I'm not holding those things against him. He's 20 years old. He's got a ways to go to develop and become the basketball player that he's going to be. As far as not knowing what he is, I think he's just a ball player.
Right now, yeah.
He's just a ball player that can come out and do different things on the floor. I don't think every player has to be labeled as he's a point guard, he's a small forward, he's this, he's that, and the third.
Yeah.
I think there are players that can say he's just a ball player. And when I ask him to do something, he can go get it done. And I think that's what RJ Barrett is, at least right now. So I a B is where I have him. He's got a long ways to go. He raised his scoring average. He was shooting terribly to begin the season. He bounced back, like Tony said, continuously bounced back. No matter what the circumstances, RJ Barrett continuously just bounced back. And throughout the season got better and better and better. Where towards the end of the season, it was like, RJ's, he still had some games where he started to, I don't want to say fade away, but he wasn't knocking down those shots and things like that. But especially during that run, when the Knicks won those 9 straight games, it was like, RJ Barrett is, he was playing crazy. And I have no doubt in my mind that if we would have had one more game, he would have figured those playoffs out too. He was already starting to figure it out. You know what I mean? And now that he got that taste next year, I think he's going to come back, with that in mind. The whole team, they're going to be fiending for the playoffs, so that they can come back and prove that
we're better than this.
We're better than that.
We're going to come back again.
Yeah. So RJ Barrett, give RJ Barrett a B, ladies and gentlemen. And that's a well-deserved B for RJ Barrett. Right? RJ Barrett got a B this season. Now let's talk about Reggie Bullock.
Ooh, Mr. R&B. Oh my goodness.
Reggie Bullock.
Hairstyle of the year.
Yeah, Tony, I'll start with you, man.
B minus. B minus. Too inconsistent overall. I like where he was consistent at defensively, but offensively he was just too inconsistent to get anything higher than a B minus for me. I don't want to give him a C plus because I gave Payton a C plus, and that might be the lowest grade I give a player.
Right.
Is Knox on here?
So B minus.
So you're giving him a B minus, okay?
B minus, and it's all about inconsistency.
Okay.
Or consistently inconsistent.
Okay. There's no doubt about that. You could count. That's one thing you could count on is that, he's going to light you up for 8 threes in the first quarter. And, come second half, what happened? What happened? You can count on that without a doubt. G-Man?
I'm going to give him a B. Again, basically for the same reasons that I gave R.J. Barrett a B, right? To Tony's point, he was definitely inconsistent. But when he was on, he was on. And that gives you that misnomer as to what the player could potentially be versus what they actually show you when they're on the court. And that's where, I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to pretend to know. I just know what I see when I'm watching them play ball. And first half, he's shooting unconsciously, lights out. Like, I don't care what's going on. I'm getting it in. And then the second quarter, it's like he's still at the concession stand talking to the popcorn lady. Like, can I get some more butter on my popcorn, or let me get a Dr. Whatever I don't know what the conversation is, but
like, wait, we're playing the game? Oh crap!
Yeah. Oh, somebody's calling me. I'll be back. Give me a minute. I'm gonna go play 5 more minutes, and I'll be right back. I promise you. But he gets a B for me because of the minutes, and I'm thinking more along the regular season than we're talking about playoffs right now. Because in certain games he showed up in big ways that if he didn't, we wouldn't have won those games. You know what I'm saying? So you can't subtract that. So he gets a B.
Okay. And Nate?
I'm gonna give him a B. I mean, he made some big shots for us when we needed it. But yeah, way too inconsistent. I mean, honestly, I think we're probably gonna upgrade from him in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, probably so. And for me, he's a B, and I'm basing it off of not. Remember, this isn't in comparison to other players, right? These is you give these grades compared to who they are and what they are and what you expect from them in their role. Not this player averages 18, this player only averages 10, so. They can't be the same. They can't have the same grade. I don't think it works that way. The inconsistencies are the same, right? So I don't need to repeat those things. I do believe that and I wanted to give him something a little bit higher because I thought that his defense was a glue point for our team.
Yeah.
Right, I really do. So I might take. I think I'm going to give him a B+ for me because I feel like his defense was such a glue point. He shot 41% from the 3-point line this year, right? As opposed to
without him.
Exactly. Last year he was 33%, and he only shot 4 threes a game last year. This year he shot 6 threes a game. He was 41% from the 3-point line. Shot 91% from the free throw line. He didn't shoot many of them, but he shot 91% from the free throw line. And I thought his defense was so critical for this team. But overall, it sounds like we're giving him a B. All right, so Reggie Bullock gets a B from this panel. All right, now let's talk about Julius Randle.
Oh, ooh.
Julius Randle, the most improved player in the league. He actually got some MVP votes. We had two players, ladies and gentlemen, who got MVP votes. Julius Randle and Derrick Rose. They both got MVP votes.
Right.
Yeah, both got MVP votes. Tony, Julius Randle.
The only reason I'm not giving him an A+ is because there's still room for improvement. That's the only reason, and the lackluster playoff performance.
Tony, I want you as a teacher, man. Giving out A's all the time.
Other than that, I give him an A+. I look at what he did in comparison to last year. I look at what he's overcame from us, fans, media, and anybody else who had a comment about the Knicks last year. And he put that in the back of his head, if even in his head at all, and went to work and came back better and came back with a most improved player award. You can't really and MVP boards. You can't ask. What more can you ask for from your number one option?
Yeah. And G-Man, I'll give mine last. Go ahead, G-Man.
So I'm going to give him an A as well, simply because the only reason he doesn't, and kind of the same thing Tony just said. The only reason he didn't get an A+ from me is because I think that that the playoff performance was a little. It let me down a little, but by no means, don't get it twisted. By no means can we take away from what Julius Randle meant to this team throughout the regular season. There is no way. I don't care who you are or how you fix your mind. The only reason we were where we were in the 4th seed was because of a Julius Randle impact. I don't care how you look that up. So for that reason alone, he gets an A for me. There is room for improvement, but I think in this aspect of Julius Randle's career, he understands what it means to be a regular season player, opposite of what it means to be a postseason player. He understands what that disparity is and what he needs to do to get up for that postseason play, right? This is a learning experience for him. But as Julius Randle goes, so do the Knicks. He gets an A for me.
Okay. All right. And Nate?
Solid B+. And I'll tell you why. And it's not just based on the playoffs. I feel like Randle, the first part of the season, was balling out. I thought he was just killing it in every category. I felt like after the All-Star break, and we or after the halfway point of the season, we talked about this in one of the chats, how defenses were going to start reacting to Randle. And I think that they started double teaming him more. They started, giving him more fits inside the paint. Buckets did not come easy for him like they did in the first part of the season. Now, it could have been about the schedule too. We played tougher teams and all that. But obviously in the playoffs, he got exposed, in my opinion. I mean, he did not react well. He forced a lot of shots. I mean, it was his first playoff, so I'll give him that. Hopefully he comes back next year and balls out and takes that chip and just goes for it. But for me, it's a solid B+ because yes, he was the engine that made the team run, but I just felt like he tailed off after the second part of the season, going into the playoffs too.
Okay.
I was a little concerned on that end.
Okay. I'm giving him an A-, and mainly it's because of the playoffs. Right? Again, we're looking at this season, including the playoffs in its entirety. He just, whether it was Atlanta's defense or the spotlight was too big for him, or he just had to learn what the playoffs were, he cost us our chance to advance in the playoffs.
Facts.
Because of his poor play. He had a magnificent season. Every player is going to go through some ups and downs during the season. No matter who you are, you're going to go through some ups and downs. I mean, I thought during this stretch where we were winning games, Julius Randle was dropping 30. That was in the second half. When we were hitting them 9 straight, he was dropping 30 a night. And he was just killing. And there was one time he was so hot from 3. For a stretch of games, anything he threw up, you knew it was going in.
Yeah.
You just knew it was going in. It was ridiculous how hot he became, during one stretch. And it was like, whoa, this guy's, and it's what I think led everybody to feel like when we get in the playoffs, Julius Randle, like, we're in for another surprise from this guy because he's just going to knock it out the park. He already averaged 37 against the Atlanta Hawks.
Right.
And I think that's why it was such a big disappointment for Julius Randle. And that's the main reason why I'm giving Julius Randle an A-. He had an excellent season. Averaged 24 points a game, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. You know, I mean, those, you know, that's, you know, for a player who had his status in the NBA as, for the most part, I guess his status was a glorified type of role player, right? A guy that, you know, you knew could, you know, a glorified role player. You know, just a little bit above a role player, I guess. To step forward and say, I'm putting my name in the MVP ballot, on the ballot, right? You're going to recognize and say he deserves some votes. You know, to make that kind of a leap is just amazing for any player in the NBA to, you know, to go where he came from as a guy who came off the bench in this league and to rise to that point. So you can't take that away from him at all.
First time All-Star.
First time All-Star, man. First time All-Star, most improved player. If I'm him, I'm taking my sights, and I know a lot of people say, well, he's not going to get better. Obviously, he's not going to believe that. If I'm him, I'm looking next year and say, I want to be the MVP.
That's right.
I made the All-Star team. I was the most improved player. I got votes for MVP. I want to put my name in the top 5, in the top 3 of MVP voting, or be the MVP, the most valuable player. If I'm him, that's what's on my mind. He averaged 24 points, 10.2 rebounds, 6 assists. He shot 41% from the three-point line. He shot 45% from the field. And you know what? He did it on 18.6 shots per game. That's not a heck of a lot of shots, to tell you the truth, for an MVP or let's just say an all-star guy. You know, you got some of these guys are taking 25, 26 shots a game. That's why they're averaging 30. Took 18.6. That's not bad.
Hey, Sim, I got a question real quick.
Yeah.
Do you feel that Randle lived too much on the perimeter this season? I mean, I know he was shooting at a high clip, but
well, the thing is, unless you're overpowering like Joel Embiid, and even Joel Embiid lives on the perimeter sometimes.
It's true.
You're gonna get double and triple teamed out there. So now you got to start developing that mid-range jump shot. All your best players in the NBA, besides Giannis, but you look at your top players in the NBA, they all have a killer mid-range jump shot. So when they can't get to the cup, they can jab step, side step, knock down a mid-range jump shot. Right? Jab step, make you move to the right or left, knock down the mid-range. Because that's almost in a 2-dribble, pull up, knock down the mid-range. You know what I mean? Your best players always have a strong mid-range, man. And, you know, people want him to use his brute strength, but it becomes hard when you got 3 people around you to use that brute strength to score. You know what I mean? But Julius Randle, sounds like from this panel, sounds like with Nick giving him a B+, me giving him an A-, sounds like it equals out to about an A-.
A-.
You got an A- for Julius Randle with a lot of room to grow, obviously. A lot of room to grow for Julius Randle. But now let's talk about Nerlens Noel. We're going to do Nerlens Noel. This is the starting 5 that the Knicks ended the season with. We'll do Nerlens Noel, and then we'll move on, and then we'll do a part 2. I guess later on tonight we'll do a part 2 and finish this thing up. All right, so Tony, Nerlens Noel, man.
I'm waiting for this. Hold on. Let me get here so I can get this all up close and personal.
See, he started the year at a C+, B-. I think by the end of the year he got his way up to a B+. I mean, the things he was asked to do once Mitch went down, and step up and you know, for a short stretch, it was almost like Mitch wasn't even a thought. You know what I mean? He came in and was holding it down. Blocks went up. That defense, that's some of the best Knicks defense I've seen since I was a kid, especially coming from the center position.
I agree.
And I kind of want to give him a A-, but Nate got me, you know, he got me he got me away from all these A's. So, a strong B plus. And that's where his limitations, man, with no hands and offensive limitations, he still stepped up and outperformed what I thought he was capable of.
He definitely did. G-Man?
Oh, here we go again. So what I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna give Noel an A-, and this is why. Not only for the things that Ant just mentioned, but there is a certain aspect to a basketball game based on plays that you make in the heat of battle that galvanizes the troops, right? So when Nerlens Noel is blocking these shots for these dunkers that's coming by and think that they can just have a free pass to the basket, and he's like, no, we're not having that today. Take that on back down the field, back down the court. That's impactful, right? Those are the things that don't show up on the stat sheet. It shows up as a block, but it does not show up as how impactful that one particular play was.
Momentum shifters.
Absolutely. And that's underrated. You cannot look at a box score and tell what the momentum shifter was. That's why Nerlens Noel gets an A- for me. And I'm looking at the chat and I'm ready for you. Come for me. Come for me.
I mean, I've seen a couple people give him A+. So, Nate?
Man, this one's hard. You know what? I'm going to be generous. I'm going to give him a B+. And I was going to give him a B, but I'll give him a B+ because he was the anchor of the defense. He stepped in when Mitch was out. But the guy has no hands, and he is not a factor on offense at all. And I think that's another reason why they don't throw lobs to him, because the guy can't catch the ball. And so rather than turn over the ball, they're just like, well, we're not going to throw lobs to you. So he's just not a factor on offense. And I think that hurts too, because, you have to have some kind of offense from your center. I mean, at least with Mitch, you could throw lobs up to Mitch and he could get some easy baskets, or he get offensive rebounds and put him back up for dunks. Nerlens has really no offensive game, in my opinion, but the defense is where he made his calling card. He was a wall. I mean, so many blocks at the apex were just tremendous. Mm-hmm. And he was the anchor, good footwork and everything. So yeah, solid B+. It'll be interesting to see what we do with him, because now with Mitch coming back healthy, if whatever happens to Mitch, do we re-sign Nerlens for a shorter deal? That's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, solid B+.
So before you go, Sam, let me ask this question to Nate. So is it that he was not a consistent person that caught alley-oops as they were throwing them to the basket, or he just didn't make any alley-oops? Because I distinctly remember games to where he got those passes down in the paint, or he caught those oops and he was able to contribute.
Yeah, so I also remember fumbling the ball out of bounds a lot.
He's better at catching oops than catching the ball.
Exactly. So I would never put Nerlens Noel in a position to where he had to catch a bounce pass and then make an offensive move. That's not his game. But what I'm saying is we have to give the guy credit where credit is due, right? He was in the paint and in a position to catch those alley-oops and drop the ball off in the basket. That was his game. That was his game. Now, how efficient that was, that's debatable. But we have to give him credit in that rank.
I guess also too, the one thing I will say is that he has the capability of trying to hit jumpers, and he didn't even try to do that at times. Like, I think he took like one shot or something like that.
Well, I mean, there were times when he was forced to take a couple of mid-range jump shots, and he actually knocked them down. It wasn't consistently, but there were times when he was forced to take them. He took them, and he knocked them down. I agree. I give him a B+. I don't think the reason why they didn't throw him those alley-oops is because he can't catch them. I think it's because he doesn't get up high enough for you to be able to throw him high enough. Like Mitch gets up really high, so you can put it way up in the air and he can go up and get it. Obviously, he doesn't have the same dexterity and control of the basketball to catch it with one hand and throw it down, and he drops the ball a lot and those type of things. But what he did
he
defensively,
fumbled the ball like on the baseline so many times, it'd be hilarious to watch.
Right, but what he did defensively though, I thought for a very large part of the season when Mitch was out, was so big for this team because, like Tony said, we thought, man, Mitch is out. Mitch came back from being hurt and then goes out again. And we're like, oh, man, this is it. Everybody's waiting for it to crumble. Everyone's waiting for the season to crumble. And Nerlens Noel steps up and starts blocking dunks like he's blocking a fourth grader. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, what's up? And those dunks, they energized. They always energized the team. Obviously, I mean, I was screaming like RJ Barrett just banged on somebody when Nerlens Noel would get those blocks. So you can imagine how the team felt.
Yep.
Every time we thought a bigger guy was going to dominate them, the Knicks found a way. Right, including Nerlens Noel, they found a way to defend that player and hold their own. We're not saying he's a perfect player. Obviously, he's offensively, he doesn't really have an offensive game. Screen and roll, sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not in screen and roll defense. But he came in and did exactly what we needed to hold down the fort defensively and, help continue to have the Knicks be a top 10 defense. Before he even became a starter, the full-time starter, he was in top 10 in blocks. You know what I'm saying? Can't say enough about what Nerlens Noel did. It became apparent that we needed Mitch in the playoffs and what, just his size, his length, his ability to catch oops, could have made this a different series against the Atlanta Hawks. But, we're not comparing him to Mitch. We're just talking about what Nerlens Noel did and what his expectations were. And, he had a great season. And he's, he may have played himself out of being in New York because of the contract situation. You know what I mean? But B+, and it sounds like we all kind of agree. I think we got 3 B+ and an A-, so it's pretty much a B+. A B+ for Nerlens Noel, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. Elfrid Payton got a C-. And I want to give a big shout out to C.T. Pittman. He said, I think he sums up Elfrid Payton pretty well. He said the version of Payton the Knicks got is not the same Payton from NOLA that had 6 straight triple-doubles. He was caught looking over his shoulder too much in New York. And, I kind of agree with that. But anyway, a C- for Elfrid Payton, a B for RJ Barrett, a B for Reggie Bullock, an A- for Julius Randle, and a B+ for Nerlens Noel, ladies and gentlemen. That's the starting 5. We're going to come back and we're going to do part 2 tonight where we'll look at the bench. And then we'll put it all together to give one overall grade for the New York Knicks. All right, so any parting shots, about 10 seconds, give you some parting shots before I get up out of here so I can get to basketball practice. All right, Tony?
As always, man, I appreciate you, Sam. Keep doing your thing. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the panel. Your blackest time. I'll see you tonight.
All right, no doubt. Nate?
Yeah, man. I mean, it kind of sums the roster up in just starting 5 in general, like a lot of B's, a C, and an A. What time are you going to get on?
Probably around 9 or something like that. I'm going to talk with Tony. We'll figure out 9:30, something like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. You'll probably be at work or something.
But if it's 9:30 y'all's time, so 8:30 our time, my time, I think it'll be all right. I'll be able to get on.
All right. So that way we can keep the same panel and keep things consistent. And everybody else that didn't get in there be mad at me, but it's all good. It's all good.
They like, how Sam gonna just like everybody? I'm like, hey, you got to
first come, first serve.
Hey, sometimes you got to get in because this is something where we wanted to keep it controlled. We didn't want all takes all over, from planet Mars and Jupiter and all of that. We just wanted to try to keep some things controlled. So this is the group that got in. It's the group we locked it off with. Anyway, go ahead, G-Man.
This way, Sam. Chat, we agree to disagree. I would ask that, as long as we keep everything respectful, respect everyone's opinions, because we're not all going to agree, right? But just keep everything respectful and know that we all have one love for our valiant New York Knicks.
Don't be haters.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And ladies and gentlemen, I do want to say these season's grades are brought to you by Flagship Resorts in Atlantic City. Make sure you check out Flagship Resorts in Atlantic City. The link to the hotel's in the description of this video. And do want to let you know when we have the draft party, it's going to be in Atlantic City. And guess what it's going to be? What? It's going to be at the Flagship Resorts. All right? It's going to be at the Flagship Resorts. So what I'm telling you is, within the next week, pay attention. The registration is going to be coming out, so you can, get your spot reserved to that draft party. It's good. It's going to be, it's going to be dope. It's going to be dope, man. It's going to be a bunch of different people doing podcasts. We're going to have, we'll have everything set up. We'll be streaming live, but we'll also be doing a live podcast. And then this way, we'll also be able to, people that are there watching the podcast, they'll be able to get on and ask some questions right there live. It's going to be pretty dope, man.
That's awesome,
It's going to be super dope. But then, of course, we're going to be watching the draft and breaking down, analyzing players and what the Knicks could or should do. And there might be a crazy trade with the New York Knicks. You never know. So...
For maybe Dame.
Just be ready, ladies. As a matter of fact, tonight, when I get on tonight, just so I can get an idea of how many people might attend, I'm going to have a link of people who, would potentially attend, where you can just, this is not your official registration. It's just kind of catching, okay, how many people think that they might be attending. You know what I'm saying? So we can get kind of a count so I can let the hotel know. And there'll be some special drink specials, nothing but Knicks drink specials. There's going to be, for those who plan to stay at the resort, a special rate for those who plan to stay. And, of course, those who are members of the channel, you're going to get first dibs. That's how it is. Y'all going to get first dibs to sign up. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. This is brought to you by Flagship Resorts. The link is in the description of this video. Make sure you check it out. And later on tonight, I'll have their logo and stuff up later on tonight too, so you can get an idea of what it is. And just be on the lookout for that draft party. It's going to be dope. It's going to be fun, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out of here. Be peaceful. Catch you tonight for part 2.
Let us.
And, let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it.
This is NBK. Nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.